Welcome to That Paint Party Life, where we talk about all creative businesses, the good, the messy, and the magic in between. I'm Lori Miller, and today I'm going to share my story of building my paint party business not once, but twice. We're talking from scratch, making mistakes, the lessons that will save you time, stress, and maybe even a little bit of tears. So sit tight, get your favorite coffee, and join me. Hey, friends. So I'm so glad that you're here to join me for my first podcast. I have just set this up. It was a crazy idea that I've had for a while. I had one previously with a friend, and it kind of just fizzled out, and I kind of wanted to get back into it. So I wanted to talk about how I started my paint party business and where it is now and what can help you to build your business up and maybe not have to go along and struggle the same way I did. So I would say back in 2018 when it must have been a little bit earlier than that. A friend of mine who had just opened a brewery, she had asked if I would like to go to a paint party or something of the sort. And I was, I've been an artist my whole life, and I kind of shrugged her off. I was like, I don't really want to do a paint party. I mean, I don't need somebody else to tell me. Actually, she called it paint night, but at that time it was such a new concept in our area. And I didn't want to do it because why would I have somebody else show me how to do, how to paint when I've been painting my whole life? So she then explained to me what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to host it. And as I do with everything in my life, I jump in head first. I don't plan things out. And I'm like, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I went into a new program at the time, and it was called Canva, and threw some images together and put it online and figured out how to take a payment through PayPal, and threw up a painting that I had quickly thrown together, not thinking that I would sell out an event, let alone that was even an option. But my first event that I ever had was a sell-out paint party at a brewery. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never been to a paint party before. I had never had somebody else instruct me other than like going to school. And I definitely hadn't instructed anybody else before. So I went in to this brewery and I bought 16 by 20 inch canvases and all of the supplies. It was definitely like picked up from here and a little bit from there. And I went to Michael's and to Hobby Lobby and to any place that I could find supplies and threw it all together. I don't think there was one matching anything. And I set it all up and didn't even have aprons. Like I went to the now, I mean, that comes standard because I've been in the business for a while now, but I just threw it all together and I had about, I think 26 people at my first party. And I had set up myself with my own personal easel in the front of the class to show them how to paint this painting. And I realized very quickly that I would not be able to show them and tell them how to paint at the same time. And that, I think that really crafted my style of paint parties. Now I don't show anybody anything anymore on how to paint. I give them full instruction and I'll walk around, give one-on-one attention, but I do not paint with them. And I think that's because I feel like I'd spend too much time looking at my own painting and not enough to giving them attention. So I had one object painted on the canvas and all this stuff going on, and people are having a great time and laughing and walking through. And that I realized the amount of profit that could be made off a party. And I was working full time at the time, and that brought in some extra money that I was a mom of two at that point. I mean, I'm still a mom of two, but like I was brand new two. Like I had a 1.5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and daycare at that time was astronomical. I'm pretty sure it was like $375 a week. at that point. So any extra cash coming in was definitely like accepting and like, yes, this is going to help us. And that was like the start of like my journey in this paint party business. Now, are you a person who shows people how to paint on the canvas during a party, or are you someone who gives instruction and gives one-on-one attention? I'd love to know. Comment below or send me a message. So that was like kind of the breakdown of like how I started my paint party journey back 2017, 2018. Now, I have since been in the business quite a while since then, and a lot of trials and tribulations have come through since then. So we decided, or I actually decided in late 2018, and I had only been in the business a very short time, I was going to open a studio, and there was a lot of things going on that year. My husband and I were getting married that year, and so we were trying to plan a wedding and a honeymoon, and I was looking at locations to open up a studio because I knew that that time that my area needed something like that, since there was nothing in the city of Augusta, Maine that had a studio. Well, it didn't work out. The place that I had found that I was able to afford, it was about $600 a month, which was actually quite affordable now that I look at it and remember back to it. But it just didn't work out. There would have been a walkthrough. Other people would have had access to my area. It just would have been like a shared thing. And I'm glad that I didn't go with it. There was a lot going on. But so fast forward about, I would say 7 months to end of, it might have been a little bit longer than that. It might have been like 10 months. Towards the end of 2019, I was at an event, and a lady had come to the event, and she said, I had said my dream. I manifested it. I put it out in the world, and I said it at an event. I said, my end goal, I guess, would be to have a studio. I would love for people to come to me instead of me going to other people. And her eyes perked right up, and she looked right at me. She goes, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah, that's really what I would like to do, because I do like going out to different restaurants and stuff, but depending on, and waiting on other people instead of, me doing me whenever I want to do me, I have to wait on other people." And she goes, "Well, you're in luck. I have a space that might work out for you. It's right in Augusta. It's right on the main drag there, which was Water Street is the name of it. But it's the back side of Water Street on the riverside. And if you want to take a look at it." So I thought on it, and I'd contacted her, and we went and checked it out in November. I was like, I'm going to do this. I convinced my husband that I was going to do this. I said, I'm still working full time, and I won't ever put us in a place where we're financially hurting. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. She was really cool about not signing a full year lease on it, just because it was such a new thing. And so I got everything together. Like, I went through and I bought tables and chairs and did all the registration that you have to do with the state. Like, I had to sign up to get a sign. I had to have it approved by the city. And it was really hard because not everyone was forthcoming with the information. I had to contact the city and go down to the city office and figure this all out on my own. And again, everything's different everywhere, so I really can't give like a checklist on what to do. I can give like an idea of what would you need to do something like that, but it's different with every state. And I signed up for all the tax things that I had to sign up for, and it was a lot. It was a lot of work. And then I went and made sure I had enough supplies. I had to go in and set up and make it all pretty and get myself a desk. And we built a desk in there. I built it out of 2x4s and sticky floor tile to make it look like faux wood, and bought all the things and set it all up. And I opened my doors like the first week of 2020. And throughout January and throughout February, I was selling parties left and right, like full sellout, because again, there was nothing in our area that had that. So it was a great time, early 2020, and I was talking to my husband and to my landlord. And I said, I think I might pull the plug and this might be my full-time thing. I think I can do this, because at this point in time, I was making more money doing my side gig than I was doing, full-time at my day job. And it would have helped us, tremendously with daycare and the amount of money if I even did it full-time. And I had given my 2-week notice to my boss back in, I wanted to be, okay, so here's the thing. This is when everything kind of went to shit. I had given my 2-week notice, and my birthday is March 13th. Okay. And I'd given my 2-week notice, and I had taken the day off to use up PTO so that I didn't lose it when I quit my job. And I was sitting at my studio painting, preparing for an upcoming event. And I had the TV on in my studio, and I was watching the news. And then they said that they were shutting the state down due to COVID. And my life I felt my heart just drop into my stomach, because at this time, nobody knows, we didn't know anything about COVID. We didn't know how things were going to be, how the world was going to be. They said everything was being shut down. They were talking about 2 weeks. And I knew at that point that it wasn't going to be good. It was going to be scary. And I wasn't able to pull in people into the studio at that point, because they had said that they were shutting the world down. And I had just gave my 2-week notice to my job. That was terrifying. So it actually really worked out in the fact that I contacted my current boss, and she allowed me to rescind my 2-week, so that we worked with Medicaid at that point, the state's Medicaid, and a few other states' Medicaids, and helping with auditing and billing and all the things. And we knew that we would need extra help, because it was a health crisis or a pandemic, I guess you would say, or it was, not that you would say, it was a pandemic. And we didn't know how it was going to go. So she let me stay on. But now I have this additional rent in this building that I can't put people into. So I got to pay rent on that and be able to survive with this additional $1,000 on top of all of the other things in life. Thankfully, the community came together when I made a post, and I was like, this is, I don't know what to do. I just did this, and now the world's shutting down. And I had some really great people that donated quite a bit of money that helped me pay for rent for a couple months. And I did a lot. Every night in 2020, from the point that we were shut down for, I think, 4 to 5 months straight, I went online every night and painted for free every night online. So that people had something to do, because it was such a weird time, and I wanted to bring normalcy to people in this strange, weird thing. Now, going back and thinking, that was probably one of the most profitable years I've had. And I don't know if I would change anything per se. I probably wouldn't have burnt myself out so bad. I probably wouldn't have painted every single night. But again, at that point in time, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know any better. So I just did it to help bring normalcy back to myself and to make connection with people. I think, though, going back, and I mean, the great thing too, that side note has nothing to do with what I was saying, but I ended up reopening back, I think it was in May of 2020, and ended up actually moving into a bigger studio in September of 2020. The unfortunate circumstances of the business that was above me ended up closing. They were a yoga studio, and that didn't really work out in the pandemic. But I was able to acquire a much bigger studio at 1,700 square feet. And I was able to bring in more people into the studio so that I could have, actual classes and be 6 feet apart. My old studio that I had had previously, I could have maybe 4 people, 5 people at most if I was really pushing it. And that's not something that could sustain itself to hold, I'd have to have a class like every day, twice a day to even, and fill those classes out to even make rent. So it worked out really nicely for me to be able to have that studio upstairs. Excuse me. And because my new studio ended up being actually the same landlord, same everything. It just happened to be the floor above where I was. I miss that studio. It was beautiful. That's where the Pollock room came to fruition. Like I created that within. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then I had this extra space, and it was awesome. I think what I would have done, and I built it up too. It took a long time to get built up, but I had to be involved. I had to go to events that the city put on. I had to rub elbows with people so that my name would get out there. And then once it was going, it was good. It took a while to get there, but once it was going, it was good. And there were several months, I was making close to 10 to 11K per month, doing very well. Now it comes to where I had to build up a second time. And I'm still in that process. I'm doing very well now. Wise people are starting to realize who I am, and it's picking up quite a bit. But back in 22, we went to Florida on a vacation, and we came to see my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they had just moved to Florida. We did all the vacation things. We did all the parks, and my paid party business paid for that whole trip. It was amazing. And then we had gotten back. I went on a business trip and came back, and my husband goes, we should really go, you and I, go back and just kind of have a trip for us for Christmas. We'll go for us and leave the kids home, and we'll just do us. So we had decided to do that. And then so that was in February of 23. And while we were there, my sister-in-law was like, well, do you want to do a paint party while you're here? And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to make it a business trip. So we did 2 paint parties while I was there, and they both sold out, with some paintings that are actually in the Creative Easel Paint Club membership. So if you're interested, there'll be a link in the description, and you'll be able to join or find out about it. And sold out. So that paid for the trip as well. And we had talked about possibly moving to Florida, because it's just that we were at the resort life where I was in Maine, and most of Maine, unless it's new build, and it's very rare for a new build in the state of Maine. Everything's older, not as updated, and the housing looked the same pricing between Florida and Maine. The groceries were cheaper when we came. I think eggs at the time, I know this is not a good marker because eggs right now are ridiculously priced, but as a marker, I'm pretty sure they were like $2.50 for a dozen. And back in Maine, they were like $4.50 back in 23. It was like February 23. So my husband and I were talking about it. I'm like, my job can be anywhere. I can do my job anywhere. We've sold out 2 events, and he worked from home. So we had talked about it, and I said, if we're going to do this, we probably should do it prior to the kids go back to school. And then I said, well, you know what I'll do is I will make another trip down, and we'll see how it goes then. If it works out, then perfect. If it doesn't, this wasn't meant to be, and we can stay here in Maine. Well, I went back down in April, after being there in February. I went down for, 3 to 4 days in April, and had 2 parties then, sold those out as well. And I was like, this is working. So we made the determination that I could make it happen in Florida. And that was the main thing. Like, because my husband can work from anywhere. Can I make it work in a different state? That was the thought. And I sold myself an idea that I could make it work somewhere else. And so I went down again in June. We put our house on the market in July 1st, I believe we put it on. Maybe it was in June 30th. We put it on the market. We were under contract by July 5th, and our house was sold by July 28th. And we were in Florida July 29th. And we had found a place to rent, and I had found a studio, not a big studio like I had, but I had found a studio in, it's the one I'm currently in right now in Riverview. Affordable, comparable pricing to what I had in Maine, and moved all our stuff down and opened up my studio, signed my lease to open my studio in August of 23. And I just assumed that it would just pick right up and I would be right where I was when we left. And that right there is where I fooled myself. You can't just jump into something, you have to put work in. But I sold myself an idea that I'd be able to just pick up where I left off, where I left the state of Maine, and just come down to Florida and be able to pick up and just have parties. There's a lot more to that. You need to, and it was naive of me to think that. And I want people to know that it seems like common sense now, right? Like, it seems like, oh, of course you're in a new area. Of course you have to put that work in. But I've been, the go-to person for a long time in an area. And then I go to a new area and I'm not the go-to person. There's a lot more franchised, studios around me. There's other paint party business independent ladies around me. It was hard for me to comprehend that I wasn't the lady anymore. I wasn't the person to contact anymore. It was hard. And then here we are today. I am now 2.5 years, or actually not 2.5 years. I'm actually 2 years in to Florida. My studio is doing okay. I am being contacted by a lot of people now to have events, and in March of 2026, I'm putting on a large conference, like a very large conference for creative business owners. And I am most excited and most proud of the steps that I've taken, because back in January 24, I started a mastermind where now I have a group of 20-something women that I meet with every Monday night, and we talk about our businesses and what's working, what's not working. And supporting each other. And I want to bring this to a larger scale. And so in March of 2026, I'm putting on Creative Easel Live in my hometown of Riverview, Florida. And if you're interested, tickets are available right now. And I'll put the link in the bio or the information. I don't know how this really works just yet. So that you can join in. We're going to deep dive things. This is not a fluff conference. This is where I'm going to show you, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to get your business going. I'm going to show you everything that I know so that you can get there and don't have to make the same mistakes, that you're not doing trial and error to get where you should be. I'm not going to hold back any information either. I'm going to give you all of the grit and the knowledge that I know that I've worked for. So you don't have to try it out. I'll go, hey, this is what worked for me. Try it out. And by the end of that conference, you will have things that you'll be able to take with you and start implementing that day. That was very salesy, and I'm super sorry about that, but I'm super excited about this conference, and I want we all deserve a seat at the table, and I'm willing to pull that seat out and have you sit with me, as opposed to putting everything behind a paywall. So I mean, it's a little bit of a paywall because I got to pay for some things for us to have an event like that, but the profit is not the same as I've seen at other large events where they charge about $1,500 for a day or two event. This is $327 for 2 days. So I'm super excited about it. I would love for you there. Again, I'll put a link in the description. And that's what I have for today. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if my story hit home, remember, starting over doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're brave. Come say hi. See me on Facebook or Instagram at That Paint Party Life, and tell me your biggest takeaway. I'll see you next time.